favorite thing, yeah.
No.
Big Rapid City Commission, last meeting of 2023, a quiet, peaceful year where nothing happened for the whole year. Roll call, please.
Ackley.
Here.
Gunther.
Here.
James. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Simmons. Here.
Okay, do we rise for the pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The agenda, Mark, anything?
No changes, Mayor.
The minutes of the December 4th meeting are before you. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Motion supports their additions, corrections. Anyone? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. I'm going to deviate from the agenda, go to study session by Karen Manoski on the presidential primary election update. Please, Karen.
Right. Mayor, commissioners, I did not bring a stool, but I did put the computer down so you can see me, right? Yeah. Okay. So tonight I'm here to give you an update about our next election, which is the presidential primary on February 27th, our first election of 2024. So the presidential primary, you can only vote for one party, okay? So in the past, they've put everything on one ballot, tends to cause confusion sometimes. So this time for this election, we're gonna do two ballots, okay? One for Democrats, one for Republicans. So with that said, in order for us to know what ballot to send voters on the AV and permanent ballot list, we have to mail out the presidential primary ballot selection form, which I gave you all a copy of. So they'll complete this, tell us if they want a Democrat or Republican ballot, send it back to us, and then by January 18th, we have to have our ballots to us, and at that point, we will, or if we get them sooner, we'll send them sooner. But as soon as we get these completed, we'll mail the appropriate ballot to the voter. Now, if you're not on the AV list or vote permanent ballot, you will not receive one of these forms. This is only people who vote AV, which is absentee voter, okay? Do you have any questions about that? Or the difference between the two, or?
Is this a state law, the way this is gonna be handled, or was that our choice?
State.
It's really, how about when you go to the election when the election is? Are they gonna hand you a separate ballot, Democrat, Republican?
Yes.
I'm totally opposed to that. How that got through is crazy. Because it isn't anybody's business what I vote. And now every person in the room is gonna know what ballot you get handed. And just because you act like, there was a time during the Ross Perot, you would vote for a different party to try to manipulate the election. It's not right, and it's
But
not,
that's, Mayor, if I can say something, that's a little incorrect. When you come into the polling location, you have an application to vote.
Right.
On that application to vote, there's gonna be two boxes. You're gonna check what ballot you want. The election inspectors are trained, we never say it, ever. So you hand them the application to vote, they look at it, they show it to the person who's doing the ballots, they take the next ballot, they put it in there, and they hand it to you. No one knows.
okay.
That's how we've
So
done
they're
it for
able to
years.
keep that secret.
Yes, we've done that for years.
We didn't have two separate ballots.
We've had two separate ballots in the past. We've done it both ways.
Oh, you've done it both ways.
Right.
And really, this is a party election, and I don't know who determines really 100% who does it, whether the parties determine it
Oh, I see.
or whether the state does, but we have nothing to do with it.
So next year could be a different way or
It
whatever.
could be a different way next time.
Okay,
You
thank
never
you.
know.
Thanks for the explanation. It isn't,
Unless it's an AV ballot, then
somebody knows.
somebody has to
Somebody
know.
knows.
But that's your choice in,
But again, it's contained in our room.
correct.
We have
Right.
hundreds of them going out.
Right.
It is confidential. It's
Has
under
that
lock
ever
and
been
key.
sent out before in the past?
The form?
That type of form?
Yes.
Boy,
Because we used to have applications before. This is the first year that, because of proposal, Prop 2, that they have done away with applications, and now, of course, we have 2 ballots, now we gotta bring it back, and it's very confusing for the voters. Because now we're right back to doing an application when we just got rid of them. But there's no other way to do it. We have to do it ballot. If they had to put it on one ballot, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Why did they not?
I have no idea.
It's up to the Republicans, Democrats get together and decide that?
That's, I don't know, that's way above what we know. We just know that this is how they're chosen to do it.
In the past, Tammy, when it was on each side, you know, you'd vote the right side or the left side, were there a lot of mistakes where people crossed over and got
When
their
they
ballot
turned the
thrown
ballot
away?
over, yes.
There was.
A
So
lot of spoiling of the
trying to
ballots.
avoid spoiling ballots.
It's, yeah, this way, there's no possible way to spoil the ballot,
I see.
because you're not gonna be given that opportunity.
Karen, anything you wanted to say about the 8-day thing while you're here?
9-day early voting.
Or 9?
It's 9 days. So this is the first time that we will be doing 9-day early voting here in the city. So that's gonna start February, what is that, 17th, 18th, I'm sorry, or no, what day is it? February 17th, Saturday. Go for 9 consecutive days. We will be in this room, all precincts will vote here from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. if you choose to vote early. So you have 2 weekends, which gives people more of an opportunity to vote, which is kind of the goal behind that, I think, is try to make it as easy for voters to come out as possible.
So the clerk has to be in attendance for 8 straight days, both weekends.
9, one of us will be here.
Technically, they don't have to be, but we will be. We don't believe that that should be the burden of the election inspectors. They have to close, you know, the polls and open the polls, you know, and do the paperwork. So, yeah, one of us will be here.
Thank you. Karen, anything else?
No, do
Questions
you have
for
any
Karen?
questions about 9-day? So, any questions about 9-day early voting? Mr. Gifford, do you have any questions about 9-day early voting?
No questions. Thank you for asking.
Just wanted to double check. Thank you.
We just got a request from our special order of the day folks, if they could be placed on the next agenda. I have no objection. Mark, you create the agenda. Any problem with that?
No, I
We'll
will.
just do it that way. Great. Thank you, Karen. Public comment not related to items on the agenda. We have one public. Miss Jennings, you're it.
No comment.
Joe?
She's gonna be quiet today.
The general business starts with the resolution authorizing the appropriation to MCDC. Mark?
Mayor, the Mecosta County Development Corporation has been a partnership of the city, the county, Fair State University, surrounding townships, local businesses for, I think we're right near the 3-decade mark. The city's contribution has recently been, for a number of years now, $20,000. That's what we had budgeted for this year. But it's up to the commission whether or not that's something that you want to continue to do. And we're bringing it forth this evening and recommending that we move forward. It's been successful in many ways, and look forward to continuing to do that. But I am also happy to answer any questions if you have some.
MCDC is also rearranging how they're gonna run their business, and they have appointed the city manager and mayor of Big Rapids onto that board, which it never has been before, so I thought that was a plus. The whole board has changed quite a lot in how you folks are structuring.
Sure, and I'm happy to talk about that a little bit. So there once was a time where the board, the full board, if you will, of the MCDC was over 40 people. And for a variety of reasons, some of which, a number of those 40 wouldn't attend meetings and so forth. It got pared back recently at our past annual meeting in this month. To the full board, or the general board, is a much more condensed group, of which the mayor is part of that. Now, and then the executive board has been a smaller group all along. I would be continued to serve on there. But I think it's a more streamlined approach, better, sort of a best practices approach. working with the right place, as we have been, we've gotten more exposed to how other counties do it, and this is one of the changes they're recommending.
Is there a motion to pay our dues to MCDC?
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Other questions? Roll call, please.
Heffley?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Next, under the public works section, we have the performance resolution for governmental agencies. Right away, Mark.
The performance resolution, I always think is an odd name. It is the permission or permit that we get, in cooperation with the Michigan Department of Transportation to do work in the state right-of-ways, of which we have, many in town. And so this is something we do every year, and it's required by MDOT. One of the new things that we've negotiated with them is to put flower baskets on the Maple Street Bridge this year. So Rosemary usually likes those types of amenities, and I think a lot of people will like them. But it's the state's bridge, and that's the kind of thing that, goes into these types of permits, or this type of permit. So this is something we're very accustomed to doing. It's a lot of red tape, Mayor. I know you're not a red tape fan, and this would fit into that category, but it's required by MDOT, and we're ready to perform up to their standards.
Is there a motion for the resolution?
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Questions, comments? Mark, was it Dell who does the flowers?
Well, it's in terms of agreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the end, it's Dell who decides. He usually has a structural engineer type person. They get real funny about, weight loads and other time wind loads, those kinds of
They
things.
want the flowers falling and hitting somebody in the head.
That's true.
Where do the flowers stop, though?
Stop. They're downtown now, and then up on Baldwin Street.
I can't remember if they go past the bridge.
They
For the
don't
light.
go over towards the bridge right now. They're just downtown right now.
And
then on
there's
Baldwin
nothing
Street.
there.
Yeah,
All right. But are they stopping right after the bridge, or are they going
they'd just be on
to the
bridge.
light? Okay,
They'd just be on the bridge, yeah.
okay,
that's-
all right.
And I think it's safe to say Dave Hamlin has engineered and is
Yeah.
constructing
The
the,
bracket to mount the flowers on, Dave is always our bracket kind of guy. He does he did the brackets on the right outside City Hall, and he does the brackets on the light poles, and he's a good person to have in town, and is always very generous in his work that he's doing, so.
My question is coming from the people that have come to us expressing the lack of flowers or decoration or lamps or lights, anything like that on that side of town. So that's why I was asking.
But these are going to Maple Street, not Baldwin.
No, we're looking at doing Baldwin Street too, but this is, that's not a MDOT bridge, that's our bridge, yeah.
that's our bridge. Is there a motion for, we did the right of way. Did we vote on that yet?
No, we have a motion.
Go for it.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Heffley?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes. Next is, a resolution to buy a heavy-duty drive-on lift. Where's Heather for this? I think she should.
Heather's out ill
Oh,
today.
sorry.
Yeah, she's not feeling good, so hope she gets to feeling better. We have approximately 30-year-old lift at the garage right now that services our Dial-A-Ride buses. The state has agreed to furnish us a new one, and so we went out to bid, and we got 3 bids. Our low bidder is from Nunica. Mayor, I thought maybe you've been to Nunica maybe, but.
I have been, didn't I?
And so our low bidder is from Nunica, and this is 100% funded by the state of Michigan to have this new lift, and then we will sell the old one. I know Scott Moore at the garage is working on the sale of the old one, and might have some value in it. But so this will be a better option for our mechanics to be able to work and service the dial ride buses.
And because the state is paying for it, I'm assuming it's only used for the dollar ride buses?
Yes,
Is that where the old one was too?
we have two. So
Okay.
there's one for, you know,
The other vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can't run a city vehicle onto the new list, even though it's safer and better, because it's owned by the state.
Well, I think that's the way, I mean, they're designed for that
What I was
too,
gonna
so, yeah. I don't know if can't or that it never happens, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Okay.
it's designed to service the dial ride buses.
All right, do we have a motion for that already?
So moved.
Second,
Motion and support, questions? Please.
Johnson,
yes.
Finley,
Yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes,
Next is the McNally Enterprises LLC Remax together. Hey, you got a long name, Joe.
My wife picked it.
The commission, I'll start by saying the commission had nothing to do with the whole process. We felt it better to keep hands off, this sort of thing. And what happened, Michelle? What went on?
We sent out an RFQ back in November. We only had 2 responses, Joe and Big Rapids Realty. We sent them Wedge Interviews, which is an online interview platform, and they each did the interviews. After reviewing their interviews and the work that they've done previously, we recommend McNally Enterprise.
Mark, who's involved with that? Just you and Michelle, or how did you?
Joey, who works in Michelle's office, actually has his real estate license. So that was fun to be able to get his take and have his involvement in that, but that was the 3 of us, so.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none, there's a motion to, use McNally for 24.
so moved.
Second. Oh,
Motion and second. Questions? Anything further? Anyone? Tammy?
Finley,
yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes,
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is a resolution to, now we got the coastal habitat. This thing kind of gets me. Listen closely, Rosemary.
I'll do my best,
A
Melanie.
resolution authorizing submission of the coastal habitat restoration resilient grants for tribes and underserved communities for the Muskegon River slope stabilization problem. You gotta start right from the beginning. It's all yours.
Okay, so this is for the area behind the Housing Commission along the Muskegon River. The slope is failing there. And we've looked at multiple ways of trying to solve it. And we applied to Eagle Grant last year and did not receive the Eagle Grant. Our grant writer Melanie found this one, the NOAA grant. It's not the best fit for us probably because it has a lot of requirements of putting green infrastructure in. And we are leaning more towards wall because we need the wall to help support the bank. We don't know if it can be done with green infrastructure. But we think we can use some green infrastructure in it, so it's a grant worth going. It's a $3 million grant. There is no match to it, which is one of the pluses of the grant. They responded that they won't make a decision until October for the grant, so it's gonna be a long wait. But the city has to do something for the bank and the failing walls, multiple walls on the bank. And so we felt like this was a good option to at least try to go for.
So Brad, is it the city's legal obligation to stabilize that riverbank? I mean, the DNR or somebody else, we don't own the river.
Yeah, we looked at it, and I think there is an obligation to stabilize the bank. And how it's paid for determines on the land ownership, and we've looked at that with the housing commission, right? But it's, that's a point of negotiation, but I think it has to be stabilized.
Say that again about what you just said about.
In terms of the payment of it,
Say that again slowly.
Well,
We have Miss Miller here.
yeah,
I was in that meeting.
I can jump into is, I think if the question is who's responsible, which is essentially what you said, I don't think we're gonna find a way that it's not some level of the city's responsibility and some level the housing commission's responsibility. Now, so the city purchased the property and still holds title to the majority of the land that the housing commission is on. And that is the part that's at risk. Yeah, I don't know that, it would be good for either one of us to say it's all your responsibility. I don't know how you'd even do that. We're so closely intertwined in terms of how the housing commission started and who owns the land, and that partnership has proved us well over time. So, I don't believe we'd find a way to have it a DNR responsibility. Not that we couldn't look at DNR grants maybe, but they tend to be small in scale, and this project is not small in scale. So that's where we get these federal projects, and we're gonna talk about the Army Corps of Engineers a little later, and those are the only, they fund bigger projects than the DNR ever does, so hopefully that helps a little.
To answer the question, yes, the city's gotta have some responsibility.
We didn't put the river there.
Right,
No,
We didn't put the houses up there.
but the city,
no, we certainly were a party to that happening.
It concerns me because this is not a $2 million project. This is probably, I'm guessing, Mark?
Oh, it's
High millions?
it's millions. That's very clear.
Where's that gonna come from?
Well, hopefully NOAA helps, maybe. Maybe.
You gotta start somewhere.
Well, this is admittedly a bit of a
Yeah,
shot.
this is
in
a
the dark.
start.
Yeah.
This will be a 10-year endeavor, my guess would be, right, Mark? He disagrees with me.
No,
but
I don't know that I disagree with you. These types of projects take a long time to pull the funding together, the permitting together. 10 years, I hope it's not that long, but let's hope not.
Thank you. Do we hear a motion for the resolution to try and get that grant from the federal government?
Second,
Other further questions?
I do have, it talks
Please.
about Fleece and Vanderbrink will complete a conceptual drawing and a cost estimate. Is that part of their normal services with us, or are we gonna see and ask at our next meeting or at some meeting in the future to cover the cost?
They've done some work already.
They've done
Yeah,
enough
so
to get us to
And
submit
not to say that
this.
they wouldn't come to us with some sort of submittal proposal, but, they've done work on this already, and, we may be able to get by with some of the work that we've already,
Just,
Yeah, I was gonna
just
say,
saying if
We
it's,
used a lot of the Eagle information.
yeah.
if it's a low kind of
I
odds
don't
that we
think
would
we're-
get it, I wouldn't wanna see us spend several thousands of
agree.
dollars on.
Yeah, I think staff is right there with
Which
you on
you
that one.
usually are, like 8 steps ahead of us on that, so.
So if they've done some work already, have we paid them
Oh, yeah,
extra
yeah,
for this?
well, we did this Eagle grant, a year or two ago, this time just rolls by. Yes, there's been money spent, and Fleece has done some work, they've done some surveying. They've actually been working on a more of a full design package with another company, Soils and Structures, they're called. But what you're gonna hear later is we're a bit on hold with that because it's part of what the Army Corps will do is the design work potentially. So we would not wanna spend a bunch of money going after this NOAA grant because the likelihood, we'll be able to get by with either some of the information we already have or a very little bit extra that we won't pay a lot for.
And the housing commission should pick that up.
They might, you never know, they do good, we shared a lot of costs on these types of things, so.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, we had a second. Did we have a first?
Do we have a first?
I moved and
I think we have that in.
Karen seconded.
Second.
Other questions? Please.
Heffley?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Yes.
Michelle, how many man-hours will the grant writer have to take to do something like this one?
This grant, it's actually due tomorrow.
I guess you won't have too many hours.
So she's been working off and on it for probably a week or two now.
And the mayor, the
A lot of it's-
nuance explanation to that is, yeah, so this one's weird because it didn't require city commission approval.
Right.
If it did, we wouldn't have the grant, you know, more than, or 90% done before we even asked whether we could do it. I was very uncomfortable having the city apply for a $3 million grant that didn't have the commission backing. So this one's a little bit odd. Usually a big grant like this would certainly have a resolution of support or authorization attached to it. This one did not. So it came, you know, the grant's being done, and then they come to me and I was like, well, the commission needs to look at this. And so that's why this one's different than usual. And that's why you're asked the day before it's due. That's where that comes in.
Please. You have motion and support.
We just voted.
You're all done.
It's okay, we're laughing with you, not at you.
I don't care. Resolution recommending the reappointment of Bill Rowley to the dispatch board.
Mark, he came to you?
He did. He came, and he has served, maybe more than, certainly he's been serving this previous term. I think he's had more than one term on the 911 board. Tammy would, I'm looking at her to
for
confirm.
Peg Brennan when she
Okay.
resigned, so he had a half a term. Now he's going for a full term.
Okay. And apparently enjoys his time and service on that board and was just looking to be reappointed. Okay.
So we have the right to one person on that board. How does that work?
We have a city rep on the 911 board as part of their establishment or bylaws or however. And Peg, I had done it for years, and now Bill for a number of years. I don't know that I have much history beyond that. And, you know,
I've talked to Megan Erickson, who's the chair for the board. She's
Is there a motion for Bill's reappointment to the dispatch board?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Questions further? Obviously, they have to live within the city for us.
that's right.
All right, Tammy?
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Yes.
Epley,
Yes.
Duffy.
Yes. Unscheduled business for the commission.
Mayor, I have two items, whenever you're comfortable with that.
Please.
We have at the table for you the Capitol Conference in Lansing on March 12th for MML. Last year, we didn't make it, but we've been many times, and generally the way we've done that is that we carpool down for the day. I believe it's the Wednesday is the kind of the meat and potatoes of the conference, and we went for a day, and certainly can do that again if folks are interested. I was planning on going. I see there's a Michigan municipal attorney thing there, so maybe Brad will be there too, but. So we just need to hear back, whether or not any of the commissioners or the mayor want to go or attend this conference. So that's not for tonight, just it's for your, consideration. The other thing I wanted to make you aware of and ask for input on if you felt like we weren't ready or something, but, we're looking at January 8th to start live, on YouTube with our commission meetings. They've been delayed. It's the only difference, that, you know, we have them out there on YouTube already, but they're not as the meeting's going on. So, that's what we're talking about doing, but we're not dug in. I mean, if that's not something that you folks are wanting us to do or comfortable doing, then we can keep going the way we have been. I don't know that there's anything that says we have to do that. That's just what we thought. Maybe.
Have they been live before?
Well,
during
Zoom,
COVID.
Zoom times,
No, but
they were,
the
yeah,
stuff, it was live.
yeah, that was the
It
last.
costs money, Steve.
How many views are we getting for the ones that we're posting?
Not a whole lot.
Do you know?
Can't be cruel.
Do you know how many?
We're at, like, our highest video is like 60 views.
Do you know how many views you get for the live? Like, is there any data on who participated or during the live events?
I don't know because I haven't done a live yet,
Okay,
so I couldn't
in the
tell
past,
you
I didn't know if there was
what
any.
the analytics were.
Gotcha.
Are we posting are we recording any other meetings right now?
Planning Commission, Parks and Rec, I believe.
Are those getting uploaded too? Okay. No.
Those are the only two things I had, Mayor.
You need a vote for us to start? the meeting,
No,
or you're just
no,
gonna-
you guys tell me if we're not ready or it doesn't suit right. There's nothing that says that has to happen, but we were just gonna do it, but I don't want that to be a surprise to you.
What's your thoughts?
Well, people seem to think they want it. I mean, as long as they're not able to interact or, or we don't get, we've had some very negative interactions with that, not through YouTube, not doing it this way. So my understanding through talking with Steve and the IT folks is we're protected from some of the bad things that once happened. I've been a part of some really bad ones that happened that some of you have too, so. But I don't, that was when we were having it on Facebook, we thought was maybe a part of some of those problems. We've had very secure
We should never
issues.
problem.
I don't think it'll be bad. People, I think, want it. I don't know if they do or they don't. I mean,
We don't know.
yeah, some of this you don't know until you try a little bit too, so.
So if you do that, how are you going to let the public know that that is happening in case they want to watch it?
Well, I can put out notifications for people. Also, if you subscribe to our account on YouTube, and you subscribe to the city, you get a notification, through your feed, and it'll have a little picture, and it says live, and it'll have a title, City of Big Rapids live stream. Let's click it, and there's a live feed.
Oh, Carla.
Should also put it in if you guys decide.
Yeah, just let me know. We don't need to vote, Mayor, and again, we can just talk about it individually too.
Would you-
Whatever you're comfortable with, sorry.
Would you be able to track participants in the live stream events once we start doing it?
Yeah, I could have my
So
phone.
to see if
look
it's
to see.
something that people are actually plugging into and actually seeking out the information and the knowledge? Okay.
It's interesting, at the mayor's meeting in November, that the attorneys that both spoke were highly opposed to all social media interchange with the commissions.
I joined them in their.
So you're one of those.
Social media is
All
different.
that does is go wrong, they said.
Well, you're creating a public forum for comment. This is different, you're just posting meetings that people can view and but as long as they can't participate, you're.
And I mentioned that you had recommended that we not have an exchange on Facebook where we answer whatever and everyone agreed with that. As soon as you start having interchange, that means somebody has to read it and answer every single question.
And you can't delete posts no matter how bad they might be, because then you're creating a First Amendment problem, so.
So that's not anything to do with YouTube. Thank you. We're next gonna go into a
Wait
work.
a minute, before you go on,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a request, and I only thought about it because we were talking about the bridge. So after the 1st of January rolls around, I'm assuming the budget starts getting planned and all that type of stuff. Capital improvements also?
Oh, yeah, that's underway already,
Okay,
yeah.
so, I would like to see under the capital improvements, the lighting to be continued across the
Sure.
Baldwin Street Bridge. Whatever the first step is, maybe engineering.
How
I don't know.
far, Lorraine?
Honestly, I've had people say to me they think it should go up to Wolverine. I don't know, but it should go further than where it stopped, because it just, sorry, it looks stupid.
That may be the most requested, or in the top 10 requested of
myself too, that it's discriminatory to the east side residents to stop the lights as soon as you go to the east side.
I
It's
mean-
like, what's the deal there?
I mean, it just, they did it, and what they did, it's great, but where it stopped, it's just, like I said, it's just,
We have it part of our capital improvement every year, so it's every year submitted.
so this,
So what
if,
happens? It doesn't happen though.
so, but it
It's
doesn't,
never gotten funded, no.
because the commission didn't make it a priority.
Well, yeah, it's never gotten funded. I mean, the staff certainly hasn't made it a priority either. I'm not shucking
Okay.
blame. When we have to rank projects for a limited amount of money, that one
Well, I
generally
understand that.
doesn't make it. But,
No, I
I mean,
understand
we'll submit it certainly, and the
But it's-
commission has the final say on that.
But it's kind of like other things, sometimes you have to do it in pieces,
Yeah,
and maybe if there's engineering required, and it gets it done, then you've got that done. It's kind of like the restrooms at North End Riverside
Yeah.
Park, that's another one that needs to be in there.
yes, it does.
Those two are, they just do.
And both of them are submitted for this year, so
Okay.
we definitely can debate those as we get there.
Okay.
Yep, both those projects are in. I
So
know
maybe
that.
this will be the year that the commission pays closer attention to the capital budget and picks and chooses a little.
Maybe.
Well, I know you've
Against the
got
will of the
20%
city
of the
manager.
commission that will,
But
other than that, I don't know what to tell you.
It might be that year, Mayor.
This might be the year.
Could be.
Stirring it tonight.
Careful, don't write a headline.
Anything else? Now, the work session, do you want to circle up? I mean, there's 5 of us, so. do you-
It's up to you.
It's up to you all, the commission.
Generally speaking, I'm comfortable staying in this format if everybody else is for these types of things.
It's not one of those work sessions where it's personal.
Right,
interchange.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
anybody object? Okay, Michelle, now you're the expert on the Army Corps of Engineers, I hear.
I don't know if I'm the expert or if I just have talked to them the most and they finally started explaining stuff and not in acronyms.
Oh, that was a
Linda.
kind of a slant.
Michelle called me one day and she's like, "You know what this email means?" I haven't had a chance to read it yet. And then when I got back to my office, it was like the ACL of the PCQ of the, and so I just emailed back and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Could you
There's a lot
not abbreviate all this stuff so that the rest of us know what you're talking about?" But it didn't help that much.
So the Army Corps of Engineers HUD was at the Housing Commission doing inspections or meeting.
HUD just emailed me. So
Emailed you.
one, if I don't mean to interrupt.
Go
but,
for it.
It was kind of odd because we've been asking HUD for help on the riverbank. And, you know, they don't really experience an issue like this every day. But lucky for all of us, HUD just hired a person who used to work for the Army Corps of Engineers. So I believe what happened is that she saw riverbank stabilization on our capital fund program and said, "Hey, we should check into this." So just out of the blue, I got an email saying, "Can we have a meeting about your riverbank stabilization and can we invite the Army Corps of Engineers and the city?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Christmas come early."
So when the Flood Control Act went into effect in 1946, it was the act that provided the language that allows the Army Corps of Engineer to take on special projects to help with flood and erosion. They have 2 different programs that they run. One is more for flood mitigation that you can apply to, and then there's this section 14, which is more for bank erosion, to help prevent bank erosion. So when I talked to one of the engineers at the Army Corps, he thought that this one would fit us better. They will do a feasibility study first, or they would do a feasibility study first. They pay for the first $100,000 of that feasibility study, and then after that, it's split 50-50
Between who and who?
between the city and the Army Corps. And then it takes approximately a year to 2 years. So generally, really takes approximately 2 to 3 years for them to do their feasibility study, but because the Corps has some familiarity with the Muskegon River and with our area, they thought that they could probably get that down to more than the 3-year mark, down to a year or 2. Once that feasibility study would be done, then they go into design and construction, if we so choose. So at any time during this entire process, the city would have the right to say like, nope, we're done, we don't wanna do anymore. So at the design and construction cost, the cost is split, federal dollars covering 65% of the cost, with local agencies coming up with the remaining 35%. When I was talking to the engineer, we were talking about census data and our underserved community that is on the top of the bank, and he thought that there may be a chance that we could decrease that 35% match to less, and have the federal government pick up more of it based on our census income. But they can't guarantee that. They would determine that all during the feasibility study. So we would know it going into design and construction before we kind of got on the hook for the payment, so to say. And he said it might even, sometimes, in very rare cases, there's no match. So it just depends on that feasibility study and what the outcome of that is when they look at the census information for us. That's really all I have on it. We can submit the letter anytime. They cannot take on a new project right now because of funding with the federal government. Because they keep continuing the budget at the federal level, that puts the Army Corps in a spot where they can't take on new projects. But once the appropriation made at the federal level, then they can review our letter and add us and request to have us added to the list of projects for the Army Corps for the year. He thought that might happen around April.
So, have no clue, they do the first 100,000 of the feasibility study, then how many 100,000 more is the net rest of the feasibility? How do you sign something, how do you do something without knowledge, and without knowing? Is this gonna go to $1 million feasibility study and we owe 35% of the 900,000, or what?
So once they accept us as a project, then they can come up and talk to us. So I asked if they could come to this meeting, and they said that they're not able, because of their budget reasons, to come up to a community and have discussions. But once they accept you as a project and you have a project number, then they would come visit us.
Well, and I think what I heard you say is that we can stop at any time. So if we get to that 95,000, or we get to a point where we're like, can't spend money on this, sounds like we have that flexibility. Cause the split on the feasibility study is 50-50, and once the project is actually approved for construction, there's probably another approval in there, then it's the 65-35.
And before they start the feasibility study, I would think that they can give you a ballpark. They're going to be.
And then the Army does the fix too? Or
They
do they
do.
hire outside contractors to come in and do the work, or what? How does that go?
I haven't got, I don't know.
And who approves the design? I mean, they're gonna do it, then you're gonna get it the way they want it.
Correct. You have
Probably
some,
without much input as to what we want, just what they
he
want.
said that the community does have some input in the design. But, to the degree, I have no idea.
this
And I would,
wall.
if I could, I would add that, I mean, let's say, obviously, we've kind of talked about this already, but we would partner on the city's portion, you know, 50-50 or whatever, like we have on other things in the past.
It has to be submitted, they have a term for it, but the Housing Commission can't be the submitter
Right.
because of their structure or however
It
they
has to
do
be
it.
the municipality.
Municipality.
Yeah, it has to be the city. And then we could easily draft some sort of agreement of how we intend to do this.
Michelle and I kind of talked
We
about,
probably ought to
we need
do
to do
that.
that anyways,
Yeah.
probably, and get this
It's hard to
land
draft
and
an
everything.
agreement with 50-50 or whatever percent you want, when you don't know what the number is.
No, I know.
You're gonna bankrupt the housing commission and the city to,
Yeah,
I just
I
don't.
don't think anybody was looking at anything that remotely comes by bankrupting it, but what you're talking about is insecurity of how it works.
Yes, yes.
And we don't understand it either, to be honest. Michelle did a great job. She knows more about it than I do by light years. And I've been a part of the 27 emails and the, you know, Zoom calls too. It's hard to wrap your arms around. But if you assume best intent with the folks that work for the Army Corps of Engineers, this is what they recommend to do.
Okay.
Is to write a letter, or sign this letter, that gets us into the system, allows them to talk to us, they can come up here and walk us through this, and it's a chore. It is a chore. And they talk about things you've never heard of and ways you don't even dream up. And, but, you know, I think we're relying a bit on the reputation of the Army Corps of Engineers as being a legitimate organization that does good work. And
It's the money part that troubles me the most. It's like,
yeah, well, nobody's gonna force us to spend anything. You know, the feasibility study seems like a lot of money. The Army Corps of Engineers did a whole complete modeling of this section of the Muskegon River.
Wow.
That's the data that they have already, that Michelle was referring to. They did that back when, we had the ice jams. And I don't know who pulled the right strings to make it happen in the county or whatever, but, so they have a bunch of data on our river as it flows through town already, so they're a little bit of a leg up. Do I think the feasibility is more than 100,000? Yes. Do I think it's 500,000? No. Do I know what it is? No. So, I mean, I don't know. It's
Michelle, have you seen that data when they did the evaluation before?
It's on my desk, I haven't.
Okay, so you have it, so you can at least have it. What year was that?
Oh, 2014 or
Flood
something.
was 2014, I think, yeah.
What was it?
It was before that. It was like 2011 or 2012.
Oh, was it?
I was still working at the Pioneer, so.
Oh, okay. There you go. I usually don't estimate the years quite right, so yeah.
14 was the windstorm.
14 was when? Ice jams was 2010 or something, must be. It was following the bad ice jams the last round, which was quite a while ago, yeah. But it's recent data,
If I
enough
could,
of which that they're willing to think it's still valid, or, you know, that things, conditions haven't changed.
When the expert came up, you weren't on board yet, maybe, who was going to do the stabilization of the bank and that real dangerous part, that was last spring? That
Yeah,
came up?
yeah.
Well, that's what I was just
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
refer to that.
Yes.
Like, our board's biggest thing is we don't wanna spend a ton of money on a fix that's not gonna fix it long-term. And we've been kinda squirreling around trying to figure out what path to go on for a long, long time.
A long time.
Mark longer than I have, and we've kind of, you know, talked to people and put on the brakes a little bit because we're like, is that really gonna fix it?
That's right.
So, I mean,
Yes.
our board is excited because I feel like this is a real solid path. But the cost is, yeah,
Well, that's a good point, Linda. So we have.
the problem's not going away, it's getting worse.
We have honestly run into engineering firms that will say, we don't wanna touch this project.
We don't have
And
the
police-
expertise,
police-
we don't have, you know.
Right, it's just such, it's big, it's complex, it's a lot of different conditions, a lot.
In Newhoff, they
Yeah, I mean, so there's, you know, engineer firms, well-known, that punt on this particular project. The Army Corps doesn't, it gives us that, you know, I don't know, we feel more confident in that they have the resources or the experience or whatever. this is the step they want us to take. I don't know, how, if we want the commission to authorize me to sign this, or what if the mayor signed it? And then we had it on the next commission meeting, or, I don't remember those details, but the letter is what starts it. And we're not looking for that tonight. I'm just saying, how we get it back to you we're not doing this but without the commission knowing full well, and it's not 100% that we know exactly.
We have
what
a
we're doing.
meeting with them on Thursday. Yes,
Okay.
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning? And with the mayor or commissioners wanted to attend, is that a
Zoom
possibility?
meeting with
It's
the
a
board.
Zoom
And
meeting.
where do they sit?
One's in most of them are in Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, Metro Detroit area.
HUD and, right, HUD, I think.
Yeah.
HUD is on there
Oh, yeah.
and
What time is that one, Michelle?
at 9.
You shoot that to me.
Sure.
Yeah, if you
Yeah, we-
shoot it, if I can
It's
attend,
very
I will.
confusing very quickly.
yeah.
They all know what each other is talking
Yeah,
about. And
yeah.
lucky for us, the HUD person that used to work at the Army Corps, she fits right in with that, so I feel that helps
Yeah,
me out a little bit, but.
yeah.
I mean, I think what you're asking, what you're presenting to us and what you're asking is very similar to, was it the last meeting where we also were asked, are we okay to send this letter to go to the next step? And that was about the special census. And so for me, the answer to your question right now, for me, is absolutely yes. Because we have to do something.
Only choice, I think.
And thank goodness we have a choice, and we had somebody else attend a meeting that was the right person. I mean, it's kinda like with the census,
Good. Any other questions for John? Anything, Linda, you want to add? So what would happen if a massive storm came and then the buildings started falling down in the river? Then would Eagle say, we'll help you? I mean, it just seems so crazy that the city and the housing commission have to take on a multi-million-dollar project for Mother Nature in that whole thing. It just doesn't sit quite
Well,
right.
that's what the lady from HUD said, cause she was looking
Yeah.
at some aerial Google photos, and she's like, is your playground really like 8 foot from the top of the riverbank? What parking lot is that? I'm like, my office parking lot up against it, you know?
Okay, any other business for the good of the city? Anyone? We stand, yes, please.
So, about a week or so ago, Mark was approached by Consumers Energy. The city recently, well, not recently, got the $25,000 skate park grant for Put My Town on the Map. And so they approached Mark and they're like, hey, can you do an interview on 9 and 10 on the 4 program that they have? And Mark's like, you know what, we got a communications guy. And I said, of course, I'll go on it. It's a Zoom interview on Wednesday. And then Consumers approached me and they're like, hey, we have a Fox 17 interview. If you want to go down to Fox 17 studios and talk about the same thing. I said, let's do it. Let's talk about the cool skate park that we could be doing in the near future and how, excited we are to get the grants and the $150,000 recreation passport grant that we just got last week. And so, yeah, pretty exciting. I know the skate park has been long overdue. There's a lot of people that want it. And a number of people have been talking about that they would be moving to Grand Rapids if we were not getting one. And
I'll be on it every day.
so the Fox 17 interview is live, so
That's it.
if you guys want to see me at 10 o'clock, tune in.
Mark, is it starting this spring? Does that happen on the
For the
skate park?
construction, yes, we hope so.
It's ready to
yeah.
roll.
There's,
Tell them about this, you didn't mention the, splash pad bid came in.
yes, and targeting January 8th, to have the bid award at the commission, on the commission agenda. We, went out to bid for the second time. We got a bid this time. We only got one. From Gerber Construction. We're thankful for their involvement. We've been trying to do some cutting on it. It was too $1,096,000, I think, right in there is their original bid. We thought we could pare that back maybe to like $2,050,000, some smaller cuts, but we had budgeted 1.8 million, so we're working on a whole presentation to the commission on how to fund it. Carla is heading that up, so yeah, it's exciting, is what it is.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it's achievable, it's exciting, and we're looking forward to that. We have a lot this summer, and we probably need to do, maybe through the budget time, some point of presentation to you on all the construction planning for this summer, the splash pad, the skate park. We looked at, hopefully Depot Park. That seems to be a little bit in jeopardy in terms of, not in jeopardy of the funding, in jeopardy of the timeline of the funding. We've gotten some bad news on that lately for this morning. But there's,
Are you looking at me? I don't deliver bad news all the time.
Didn't say a word.
You look at things like the runway extension, the State Street water main, there's a lot that's, lining
We
up.
have to start the airport runway or
Or we could be in jeopardy of losing the $1.8 million earmark, but that's a complex funding situation too that we need to present on. So we got a lot on our plate, which is a good thing. Yeah, very good.
busy,
Yeah.
instead of just sitting around in the commission.
Right.
Anybody? Anything else? Good with the city, adjourn. So busy,
What are
like
my
one arm
marching
paper.
orders? January 8th.